Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well and you're having a good day, and thank you so much for getting into this folder to come and look at the information for your ILM Level 3 Assignment 1. As you'll know, Assignment 1 is what's called the essay. It's that piece of written work that you need to do in order to pass this qualification. We want you to be able to approach this assignment with an attitude and a spirit of learning rather than a spirit of evaluation. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk through the Word document and some of these other folders that are there to be able to help you see what's needed to be done. The first thing that I'd say about this document is that there are explainers on it, and for each of the questions there is information on it to guide you for answers for every question. So I'm going to be relatively brief here. You'll note at the beginning here we do talk about a word count. It gives you a bit of guidance, but it doesn't matter if you write more. It's hard to do it in less, but it really doesn't matter if you write more. So don't spend lots of time trying to edit it down. You'll note there are 4 different sections here, each with a few questions, so we'll talk you through each of those. And really importantly here, understanding your organisation. Lots of people who do this Level 3 programme, I think, worry that they're not right at the heart of an organisation and they don't know about all the big decisions. Please don't worry about that. Please don't worry if you haven't got an organisation as your frame of reference. You'll find that the reading that you've done and what you know about organisations, and probably more importantly what you know about coaching, will give you enough information to be able to answer those questions. So I hope that's okay. Here we are, we've got each question laid out. We've got the question, we've kept the exact wording that the ILM gave us, and we've also put in a bit of guidance here for a response. So not lots, but just a little bit, and your background reading will support it a bit more. So 1.1, the purpose of effective coaching. So this is an opportunity for you to really think about, why would an organisation bother? There's so many things that they could do to help develop their people. Why would organisations use coaching? So you can think about the benefits for the organisation, you can think about the tangible benefits, the personal benefits for employees, the engagement aspect of it, and also the idea of moving towards an organisation that is the type of organisation where people do get offered coaching, where coaching is used as part of the core way of working, a way of being. So a bit of guidance there. 1.2 starts to have you thinking about yourself as a coach. And this is the first one when we start saying you don't necessarily have to write a narrative. You might write bullet points, you might do a table. It's really up to you. We've broken down 3 different types of coaches. We've thought about someone who works full-time as an internal coach, just someone coming up and down the corridor every day to be coached by you. You've got the manager who likes to use coaching and is able to coach as part of their role. And then you've got people like us, external coaches, who are brought in to offer coaching within an organisation. So you can talk about one of those, maybe choose the one that is closest to you, and then here's a bit of guidance here about what the role is, what you might offer, what you might not offer. The big point that I'm always interested in is this idea of coaching not being remedial. We're not just trying to coach the underperformers or the underachievers or coach people out of organisations. We don't want coaching to be used like that. It's not helpful. So some guidance there. I hope that's useful. Now 1.3, this is much of what you either have done or will be doing during our training, looking at how we coach, right? The key skills. I've listed a few of them, but you'll know and start to understand those. And the skills that you would have looked at on your baseline audit, your first questionnaire, thinking about those skills, you can now draw in some personal views. Why are those skills important? What is it about those skills that help the coaching process work well? So you can write a bit about your own skills, but generally about these skills. Last one in section 1, thinking about barriers. And this is definitely one where I think a table is really useful. So we put a little table here for you, and you can think about the barriers between you as a coach and a coachee, and imagine a few barriers. It could be a relationship or a personality or a misunderstanding of roles, or perhaps the coachee's had a bad experience. So you could think about those barriers, 3 or 4, and then come up with some solutions. Similar with barriers, maybe the organisation is putting in barriers like not allowing for enough time for the coaching to take place, not having a good or clear, robust enough system that makes it work really well, trying to use coaching, as I said before, for remedial purposes. So there's things you can write there. And the external forces, the world and society and clients and the economy and so on. You can think about 3 or 4 of those, and again, put some ideas about how to overcome those. So section 1, very background, very much getting the foundations. It's really important. Now in section 2, we start moving into thinking about working with our coaches, and the language here around contracting. So starting to talk about 2.1, a productive working relationship. So we'll do a bit of this in the training, but the idea that you want to start helping explain what coaching is, why someone might choose coaching and get involved in coaching, so that we can do that little bit of work together, and creating that environment so they do really feel safe and they feel trusted by us. That's really important. Thinking about the coachee, what do you need to know? What do you need to understand so that you can help them relax into this environment? That's super, super important. It's 2.1. 2.2, the language that the ILM likes to use is contracting. That language is used a lot. We talk about goals and partnership. We've touched on it a bit in the training. Think a little bit about what is important. Why at the beginning of a coaching relationship would we do a bit of contracting? Why would we help them settle into this coaching environment? You can write about expectations. You can write about goals. You can write about having a good understanding of the coachee, understanding what the process is like, being clear that it is confidential. You won't be talking to their line manager about what they're covering. So enjoy writing that type of information. It goes hand in glove with when you start having your coaching sessions. Ethical practice. Well, this is a huge, huge topic, but you don't have to get into it in a great deal of detail. When I finish with this document, I'll take you to the area where we do share codes of ethics. There are plenty of codes of ethics out there in the coaching industry, which the official ones which we'll provide. But generally, you will know what we mean by ethical good practice. You will understand about keeping people safe and understand about safeguarding. You will understand about the fact that it is coaching, and that coaching is another supportive way of personal development. So there are boundaries. My favourite ethical things to think about is that we're coaches and we're not therapists, so we don't drift into there. And we're coaches and we're not salespeople, so we don't try and keep the coaching going forever and ever just because we make money from it. So you can write about a few ethical practices, perhaps 3 you can write about, you'll see. That's the second section. Now we're thinking about the process. So this 3.1, they talk about a recognised coaching model. Depending on when you're watching this, will depend on what you know. If you've gone through the training, you'll see that we have our own models, and we always teach our own models so that you can write about a coaching session structure, and you can talk about the flow from the topic stage through the exploring to the outcome and the action stage. That's the second part of this question. But you can also write about the skills you need to have. So that relates a bit back to one of the earlier questions. Thinking about those coaching skills, you would have written about them in 1.3, but add in the skill of managing the time, of creating the space, of letting the coachee come up with their own ideas. So skills and the structure for this question. 3.2, this is a bit of a fiddly one because they talk about coaching tools and techniques. We don't tend to teach techniques. I think that there's lots of, in the life coaching world in particular, there's lots of techniques. Probably the nearest thing that we get to a technique is Qua that you would have learned. And maybe the way that we organise the structure of the session, spending a long time on the topic stage. Possibly a little bit of talking about facts and feelings in coaching. That's a bit techniquey within that. But the idea, actually, this is about the skills that you have, the listening, the questioning, the pausing. You could see those as tools and techniques. And we do encourage you to think about the opening stage, because probably that's the foundation. That's a fundamental stage where coachees relax into the coaching environment. 3.2. So 3.3 is, I think, is really interesting. Progress towards goals. So I think we can take it in two different ways. I think the first way is that coaching session. At the beginning of the coaching session, our coachee comes up with a topic they want to work on and an outcome that they want to get towards. Well, we always need to keep that loosely in our mind and make sure that by the end that we've worked towards that for them and they've worked toward that. So we can think of goals in that context, and that's point one here. But we can also think about a goal that someone might have from 6 sessions. They might book in for a few sessions with you and they'd be interested in a bigger goal, a long-term goal, maybe some sort of change, sustainable change, something of that nature. So you can think about bigger goals as well, and you can write about the importance of those. If you want, you can leave these questions till you've got a few coaching hours under your belt and you can write from that experience perspective. Last section, 4.1 and 4.2. 4.1, talking about records, coaching records. I think I've given some guidance here. We provide resources as well. I think there's something about the professionalism of keeping records, but then there's also adding value to the coaching experience by A, showing that you're professional, and B, keeping your own notes that help you learn about and understand what's going on with your coaching. That's 4.1. 4.2 talks about supervision, reflective practice. So we do a lot of this type of work with you. You would have had the experience of having a bit of tutorial time, of having feedback on your coaching. Those things are important, and you can add those into this bit of the assignment. A bit of a definition about what supervision is and what supervision isn't. Some of the resources you've got in this folder will help you with that. And you can write a little bit here. I've suggested write a bit about the risk of not having any supervision, of being out there, on your own coaching without any of that type of support. So there you are, four sections, each with 2, 3 or 4 questions to respond to. Have a go, fill in each box, put in as much or as little detail as you think that is appropriate. I hope you found that useful. Let's talk a little bit now through what else is in that folder. I'm not going to crack open and open everything, but where it says assignment examples, you'll see 3 folders in there. Some people have done incredible assignments when they've just thrown the kitchen sink in. They've written as much as they possibly could and really taken lots of joy out of it. Some have written very, very high quality ones, and some have written ones that are absolutely fine. They're standard and they still pass. You can choose. You can really, really choose how much work you want to put in on these assignments. It is up to you. You'll see the same in for assignments 2 and 3. Some people do loads more. It's up to you. We will give you feedback and let you know what will definitely be a pass. And if you want to push on and do further, please feel free to do what feels right and comfortable for you with your learning. Then the last folder you'll see here, supporting materials. This is where we've put documentation about some of the things it referred to. So there's a lot in there about coaching supervision in that last question. In one of the sections talking about ethics and codes of ethics, we've added in codes of ethics information. Some work about the coaching culture, which I think is useful for questions in that first section when you start talking about organisations. And also the coaching relationship when you talk about contracting, thinking about how we contract and how we get the coaching relationship started. So you will find in each of those folders a couple of documents, not 20 documents, not one. But things to read, things to help you just extract out a little bit of information. So it's worth a whiz through when you're working on that relevant question. So there you are. That is assignment 1. That's the information that you need in addition to what's in that folder to help you go through assignment 1. You'll know when the deadline is. It's meant to be done 6 weeks or so after we finish the training days. And hopefully what you can see from this video is that you can do it in bite size. You can take one question at a time and get them knocked off. Do them in a way that is useful and helpful for you. Please feel free to have a tutorial with us. Please feel free to send in drafts and we'll happily read those. I hope you enjoy this. Happy writing, happy coaching. Have a good day.